Assalamualaikum and good afternoon everyone. My name is ZURAIDAH binti ISMAIL. Together with me are 6 group members: SYAZWANI NADHIRAH binti SHA'ARI, YOONG HOONG, LEONARDUS BONG HOONG, NISHVVAN anak lelaki VIJAYAN, SHAHHIRA binti ZAHARIN. In this presentation, we will be presenting on phosphorus and its importance in living system. Each group member will explain their respective part clearly and effectively. Phosphorus is one of the most essential elements for life on Earth. It plays a critical role in biology because it is a key component of DNA and RNA, which store and transfer genetic information in all living organisms. Without phosphorus, this molecule will not function properly and life as we know it not exist. In addition, phosphorus is needed to produce ATP, which is known as the energy currency of the cells. ATP provides the energy required for almost all cellular activities, including growth, movement, and reproduction. This makes phosphorus essential for maintaining life at a cellular level. Beyond its role in molecules, phosphorus is also important for structure. In humans, it helps from strong bones and teeth, providing support and strength the body. In aquatic organisms, such as fish, phosphorus contributes to the formation of bones and scales, which are important for protecting and movement. What makes phosphorus unique compared to the element like carbon and nitrogen is that it does not have a gaseous phase. This means it cannot move through the atmosphere. Instead, phosphorus moves slowly through rock, soil, water, and living organism in a cycle known as the phosphorus cycle. Because of this, phosphorus is often a limiting nutrient in ecosystem, meaning its availability can control plant growth and overall ecosystem productivity. To better understand its importance, we can use visual diagram of DNA structure and ATP to show how phosphorus is involved in genetic information and energy transfer within cells. Now I will hand over to my group members to continue with the next part of the presentation.
Hi everyone, I'm Shira and today we are looking at how phosphorus cycle begins. The most important thing to remember is that phosphorus comes from rock, not the atmosphere. Unlike carbon and nitrogen, phosphorus does not exist in the air as gas. Instead, it is trapped inside a rock for billions of years. So how does phosphorus get out of the rock? Through a process called weathering. Rain, wind, and erosion slowly breaks down the rock over time. As the rock breaks apart, they release a phosphate ion. Phosphate ions are important because it contains phosphorus for the living thing to use. Once released, the phosphorus enters the soil for the plant to absorb through their roots. Phosphorus is essential for plants because it helps DNA to form and also provide energy for cells. Some phosphate ions are also carried out by the rainwater into the river and stream, spreading the phosphorus into the aquatic ecosystem. However, too much phosphorus can cause algal bloom, which can harm the aquatic organism. In conclusion, phosphorus begins in the rock, weathering release phosphate ion, and this nutrient move to soil and water to provide life on Earth. Thank you.
My name is LEONARDUS and my matrix number is 224664. Now I'll explain about how phosphorus enter the biological world through the absorption and the food web, which is the part of the living cycle of phosphorus. First, the phosphorus is a very important nutrient for all living things. It helps organisms build DNA, RNA, cell membranes, and energy molecules such as ATP. Without phosphorus, plants and animals cannot grow properly. But the phosphorus does not usually float as a gas in the atmosphere like carbon and nitrogen. Instead, it is commonly found in the soil, rock, and water in the form of phosphate ions. So the question is, how does phosphorus enter living organisms? The first step is called assimilation. Plant on land absorb phosphate from the soil through their roots, and in water, phytoplankton and algae absorb phosphate that is dissolved in the water. They take inorganic phosphate from the environment and turn it into organic compounds in their bodies. Once the phosphorus is inside algae or plants, it becomes part of the living matters. And the phosphorus move through the food web via feeding relationship. For example, in a pond, the phytoplankton absorb phosphorus first, and the zooplankton, like small fish, they will eat the phytoplankton, and the larger fish then eat the smaller organism. This transfer support the growth of the entire aquatic ecosystem, but the cycle does not stop here. The question is, what happens when the animal produce waste or the animals dies? Next, when fish, shrimp, or plant excretion, some phosphorus leave their bodies in the waste, and when they die, their bodies sink or remain in the soil or water. Then the decomposer, mainly bacteria or fungi, break down this dead organic matter and waste. During decomposition, the organic phosphorus inside the dead bodies is converted back into the phosphate. Then this phosphate is released back into the soil and water. Once it returns to the environment, plants and phytoplankton can absorb it again, and then the whole cycle repeats. So in summary, the phosphate in water or soil and absorbed by plants and algae, then eaten by the fish or shrimp, and returned by waste and decomposition, the phosphate finally released back into the ecosystem. And this is why the phosphorus is called recycled nutrients. So the phosphorus is constantly moving between the environment and the living organism, helping maintain life in both land and aquatic ecosystem. Thank you.
Now, I would like to present about eutrophication and also the impact of phosphorus on aquatic ecosystem. Phosphorus is an essential nutrient for life, but excessive phosphorus is in water can cause a serious environmental problem. One of the major eutrophication, where excess nutrients stimulate rapid algae growth, reduce the oxygen level, and harmful the aquatic organisms. In this presentation, I will explain the eutrophication process, compare the oligotrophic and eutrophic system, discuss about the Schindler experiment, and explain the connection between aquaculture and also phosphorus pollution. Eutrophication begins when excessive phosphorus enter the water from source such as fertilizer, sewage, and also aquatic wastage. This causes rapid algae growth known as algae bloom. Algae block the sunlight from reaching the underwater plant, causing the plants to die. Then the bacteria decompose the dead plant and also algae using the large amount of dissolved oxygen. As oxygen level decrease, the fish and other aquatic organisms suffocate and creating a dead zone. In this slide, I would like to compare the oligotrophic and also eutrophic system. Oligotrophic water contain low nutrient level, clear water, and high oxygen concentration, which support the healthy aquatic life. In contrast, eutrophic water contain excessive nutrient, causing algae bloom, murky water, and low oxygen level, and reduce the biodiversity. This slide shows a famous lake where 227 experiment conducted by David Schindler in 1969. He had added phosphorus to the one of the site to the lake and study about the eutrophication. The phosphorus treatment site rapidly developed the algae bloom and turned into green. This experiment provides that the phosphorus is one of the main limiting nutrient response for the eutrophication in freshwater ecosystem. In this slide, how algae bloom respond to the phosphate in water. Whenever the phosphate enter to the water column, algae rapidly absorb and use it for growth. This is why even small increases in phosphorus can trigger the algae bloom. Therefore, controlling the phosphorus is important to the preventing for the eutrophication. So the next is aquaculture is important to the food security, but the fish farm can release excessive phosphorus into the nearby river and also lake. The phosphorus mainly come from uneaten feed, fish feces, and metabolic waste. This nutrient pollution can contribute the eutrophication and algae bloom to the downstream. Therefore, aquaculture system must be balanced for food production and also environmental sustainability. Thank you.
Today I will briefly explain about the phosphorus cycles and how it applies in fish and shrimp farming, and focus on the feed management and the water quality control. Next. Okay, phosphorus is an essential nutrient for fish and shrimp growth. In aquaculture pond, it can cycle between feed, fish, or shrimp, water, plankton, and pond sediment. Unlike some nutrients, phosphorus stay within the pond system and keep cycling. Next. So where does the source come from? The main source of the phosphorus in aquaculture is commercial feed. However, fish and shrimp only absorb maybe 20 to 40% of it, and the remaining, the 60 to 50% will enter the pond through the uneaten feeds and the waste, becoming available in the water. Next. So phosphorus in the water is absorbed by the planktons and algae, which form the natural foods for fish and shrimp. When plankton die, the phosphorus settles down in the pond bottom and can be released again, continuing the cycle which we know as the phosphorus cycle. Next. So what's the importance of the phosphorus in terms of growth? So proper phosphorus level can help to support the fish bone development, shrimp molting, better growth, and fish and feed efficiency. That's why balanced phosphorus improves farm productivities. Next. So what are the problems if there are excess of phosphorus? Normally the excess phosphorus come from the overfeeding. So too much of the phosphorus can cause algae bloom, which later will result in eutrophication, and this will reduce the dissolved oxygen level. And this phenomenon can lead to stress lead to stress of the cultural organism, and the fish and shrimp will much more easily susceptible to disease and even mortality. Next. So how the farmer manage the phosphorus? First, they're using it for high quality feeds, avoid overfeeding, apply controlled fertilization, and monitoring the water quality. Good management will prevent the pollutions and support the healthy growth. Next. So as a conclusion, phosphorus is important, but it must be carefully controlled. Understanding the phosphorus cycle can help the farmer to achieve health, spawn, good growth, and sustainable aquaculture. So that's all for me. Thank you.
To wrap up our discussion, let's look at the big picture of the phosphorus cycle. Throughout this presentation, we have tracked the journey of this unique element, one that unlike others has no gas phase and does not move through the atmosphere. Instead, it follows a steady loop, beginning with the geological weathering of rocks, leaching into our water and soil, being absorbed into the aquatic food web, and eventually returning to the earth through decomposition. As we conclude, we must acknowledge the phosphorus paradox. On one hand, phosphorus is absolutely essential for life. It is the fundamental building block of DNA and RNA, the primary carrier of cellular energy in ATP, and a critical component in the development of bone and fish scales. Without it, the biological system we have discussed simply could not function. However, we also see the environmental risks that occur when the cycle is thrown out of balance, which is excess phosphorus from the fertilizer runoff can lead to catastrophic, which is algae blooms and oxygen depletion, turning healthy aquatic ecosystem into the dead zones. The path forward is defined by the sustainability and awareness, whether in land-based agriculture or aquaculture applications. We must balance the need for productivity with the responsibility of environmental protection. By controlling fertilizer use and adopting better management practices in fish farming, such as monitoring feed pellets and water quality, we can protect our water resources. Our goal is to ensure the phosphorus remains a foundation for life, rather than a driver of aquatic decline. Thank you. That's all from us.